Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in to the Fantasy Roundup. I'm your host, Spencer the Guru Urquhart, here with my co-host, Gabe Henderson. How's it hanging, bro?
It's going good, Spencer. How are you doing today?
Awesome, man. Yeah, I can't complain. You know, baseball right around the corner, opening day in just 2 days. Really excited about that. We've got,
Can't
of
wait.
course, college hoops hot and heavy with March Madness, NBA into the playoff stretch, and then, of course, the NFL offseason never slows down. Latest big news dropping yesterday, Lamar Jackson's trade request. So, man, this is you've been able to keep up with all this, Gabe? There's a lot going on.
Yeah, people I'm with have been kind of annoyed with me because my phone's blowing up 24/7 with Bleacher Report and ESPN notifications. But here we are. We're making it. We're making the best of the news and trying to digest it all here ourselves.
Yes, indeed. And before we get too deep into it, I'd like to shout out our sponsor, Caesars Sportsbook. You can get your first bet on us. Sign up with Caesars, get up to $12.50 back as a free bet. If you don't win, use the code NOLA full to get in on that. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter is in your inbox every morning, except for Wednesday. I don't think we have Wednesday, but 6 days out of 7, we got the newsletter. Myself, Gabe, Zach, Jim, we kind of rotate who writes it. I'll have a little fresh perspective each morning. So y'all go check that out. If you haven't signed up yet, NOLA.com/BuyUBets. And see, we've got, that's, I don't know. That's not a fantasy football show, Kim. Sorry, we're not able to answer that question. But yeah, let's get right into it. We've got our headlines here. Starting off, Lamar Jackson, I had teased that earlier. Lamar Jackson, the big news, announces a trade request from the Ravens. Kind of shocking considering that it looked like he was still trying to negotiate with them, but apparently it's gotten to the point to where he wants out of there. He's done, but might be able to still work things out. It was just a Twitter. He announced it on Twitter. So we might have to take it with a slight grain of salt. But the thing we do realize is that he is not happy, and there is now a chance that he doesn't play in Baltimore next year. And as for the Saints, it's been kind of quiet, but they did pick up a receiver yesterday, Brian Edwards, a guy that Derek Carr is familiar with during their time with the Raiders, played together for 2 seasons there. Will be interesting to see if Edwards can make an impact with the Saints. And then Kevin Durant, speaking of NBA, KD expected to return tomorrow. He had been out a while. For the Suns, he had, was acquired by them, expected to make a big impact, and is going to be back after a lengthy absence. So we'll see if he can give them the push they need to make the finals. Pelicans might have something to say about that. We remember last year how the Pels pushed the Suns in the playoffs, and now the Pels are looking like they're going to at least make the play-in after a strong 5-game winning streak. And then speaking of MLB, roster cuts have been hot and heavy lately, but a lot of top prospects have made opening day rosters. The 2 headliners there, Jordan Walker of my St. Louis Cardinals and Anthony Volpe of the Yankees, both made the opening day rosters despite being, I think, Walker's only 20 years old and Volpe either just 20 or 21. So, yeah, these young prospects are really making an impact early, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. Those are guys that are league winners, with everyone focusing in on the Corbin Carrolls of the world, the Gunnar Hendersons, the Adley Rutschmans, people focusing on them, the Volpes and the Walkers. Those are guys in deep leagues that can really do something for you. It'll be interesting to see, though, starting on Thursday, going through the weekend, how those teams use them.
Right, yeah, because we figure they're going to be in everyday roles, but to start the season, they might not be, although considering how highly touted they are, pretty sure they'll both be in the opening day lineup and should play more days than not. Just the skipping AAA thing is with Walker. He's a completely skipping AAA, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I know last year at the Mariners, Julio Rodriguez being only 21, that was a seamless transition, but not everyone's Julio Rodriguez. Not everyone, when they get
Not
called
quite.
up, it doesn't always go that smoothly. So it'll be interesting to see how all that goes down. So we got a lot of baseball talk for y'all coming up, but only a couple days away. So we'll have our fantasy baseball wrap up Or we're going to have we got to make some predictions. You know, we got to put our takes on the line here. We got sleepers, breakouts, and busts, as well as any questions y'all might have, last minute ads, drops, trade questions. If you still haven't drafted yet, drop your draft questions. But I figure most of y'all have drafted already. So let's address the elephant in the room here. Lamar Jackson, huge bombshell, wants out, announces that he requested a trade back at the beginning of March, even before he got the franchise tag placed on him. So what was your initial reaction, Gabe, when you heard that? I know mine was like, I was surprised but not shocked. I was surprised that he came out and announced that on Twitter.
I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked at anything that comes out between those two parties right now. I really think all the news coming out of there, it's just one side trying to get leverage over the other. I've maintained this stance all offseason, and I still maintain it. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be a Raven next year. I think they'll finally agree to a deal, both sides, and they'll keep Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Yeah, I would think that's still the most likely scenario, but we had to do our Bayou Bets poll question yesterday with the news breaking about what Lamar's going to do. Should he stay with the Ravens, go to the Colts, go to the Falcons? Those seem to be the two most likely, or somewhere else, you know. And also the scenario that if they can't come to an agreement, he could just sit out if no one wants to trade for him. And if he doesn't want to play for Baltimore, well, he might just end up sitting out. So before we get into the fantasy implications of this, I'll say my initial take as far as what he's going to do, I think he will play next year. And I think it comes down to this. If someone is willing to step up and give Baltimore the necessary compensation, then they're going to be more than willing to trade him. They will trade him. To where then this new team, though, is going to have to decide, are we going to pay Lamar what he wants? Because I think this could end up happening. It could end up being a tag and trade thing. Lamar could agree to the tag 1 year, get traded elsewhere, because he just doesn't seem too happy in Baltimore right now. So he could end up just agreeing to that, to where he goes somewhere else, gets a change of scenery for 1 year, and then it's to test the market again. So I know Baltimore is still the most likely scenario, but I think there's a decent chance he ends up somewhere else, because I don't think he was lying in that message that he sent out yesterday.
No, I don't think so. But once again, I think my gut feeling this whole time has been he stays in Baltimore. I think regardless of where he plays, he will be a top fantasy option because of his running ability. Because those quarterbacks, the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, the Jalen Hurts, those guys are so valuable in fantasy because of their dual threat ability. As far as does his fantasy value go up or down on a new team, I think it depends on the team. This might be a hot take. I think he stays the same if he goes to the Colts or the Falcons, just because you look at those teams and they're built similarly to the Ravens. You know, in Atlanta, he's got a good young tight end and no receivers really other than Drake London. I think Atlanta might be his best potential landing spot. But if you look at the Colts, Michael Pittman's a solid receiving option, but is he really a number one? We'll see. I don't particularly think that receiving core is stronger than what he has right now in Baltimore by too much. Obviously, those three teams that we just named are some of the bottom three receiving cores in the NFL, but I think Lamar Jackson's going to get his anywhere he goes.
Right, yeah, because he gets all the rushing stuff, so then the transition here to fantasy. I mean, he's going to get all his rushing stats to where no matter where he goes, he's going to be a QB1. It's just, can he stay healthy? But when he's healthy, he's definitely a guy you want in your lineup, because he's going to rush for 50 to 100 yards almost every game. And even if he's off as a passer, he gives you that steady floor. So, I mean, yeah, I think as of now, the Ravens are still the favorite, because the thing is, if he does the tag and trade thing, like I mentioned a little while ago, he risked going to a downgraded team, to where then he risked, if he goes to Atlanta or Indy, those teams didn't win many games last year. If he goes to them and they only win 6 or 7 games, teams are going to point the finger at him. It's like, well, Lamar must not be very good. We're not giving him that fully guaranteed contract. So to me, his best bet, if he's going to play under the tag, would be to just stay in Baltimore. Because, yeah, they might not have as many weapons, but they're going to win football games because they've got a great defense and they've got enough to where on offense where they should at least be a mid-pack offense. So, like, to me, he'd be kind of silly to do the tag and trade thing. I just think, though, he's kind of emotional. And his emotions might get the best of him to where he's just like, I feel disrespected. I mean, this is more and more common among the modern athlete to where they feel disrespected in these contract negotiations. That's why we see all this player movement, and you see it in college with NIL. It's just more and more of players that feel disrespected and would almost rather just play anywhere but their current situation because they're fed up with it. So I don't know if Lamar's to that point yet for real. He, according to his Twitter, he is, but again, you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. But I think he, at the end of the day, ends up cooler heads prevail and he ends up staying. And yeah, as far as his fantasy value, if he goes to a new team, I think it actually goes down because if he goes to a new team, he might not run as much. He's probably going to want to like showcase his passing skills. Like I can pass. They all say I can't throw. I'm going to throw with a new team. And I don't know. I don't really see him switching teams being beneficial considering wherever he goes is probably not going to give him the support that the Ravens do just all around. Like just as far as him being able to run because they've got the defense to protect the lead. Or if he goes to Atlanta, yeah, he's going to be throwing more, but he's not going to be able to run as much. He's going to have to be chucking it down the field. And, yeah, he's have Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but those guys get taken out of the game by opposing defenses. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, if you're Lamar and you're looking at this, the devil you know is sometimes better than the devil you don't know. So
Yeah,
while things
grass
might
isn't always
be
greener.
exactly, things might be bad in Baltimore right now, but they could always be worse.
And they're really not that bad. Like I was saying, not bad at all. Yeah, the receivers aren't that great, but the whole team is very strong.
Yeah,
Defense,
they just need
especially,
some
it's a
receiving help.
nasty defense. Yeah, and they could draft some guys, and then they could still sign some people. They've got some names out there that are pretty intriguing still. Offseason still far from over, but yeah, it is an interesting saga. We'll see how it goes. So, like I said, I'd say now I was saying it was like an 80 to 90% chance he stayed in Baltimore. Now I'd probably move that to 60 to 70, but still well over 50% that he stays a Raven at least one more season. He might go to Kirk Cousins route and just play under the tag and then walk, but I'm not sure what he'll end up doing, but still thinking that he's gonna just stay the course. But we got a question here from Pennison Lloyd. Thanks for the question. He said, hoping his fantasy here gets better. Football, I had 2 Bills players. Basketball was Pelicans injured. Guessing he had Zion and Lillard. Yeah, Dame Lillard shut down here down the stretch. We'll get to fantasy basketball talk at the end. Actually, got a few recommendations for those that are still in the playoffs. But his question here: what young baseball player and draftee in the NFL do you recommend coming up? Well, we touched on the two, speaking of young baseball players, we kind of mentioned them earlier, like Gunnar Henderson for the Orioles is one to watch, Jordan Walker for the Cardinals, Anthony Volpe for the Yankees, all guys with a lot of talent that you can get reasonably in your drafts because they haven't really put up any major league statistics. And as far as the NFL draft, Bijan Robinson, the running back coming out of Texas, is the name to watch for fantasy. But also the quarterbacks, I'd say Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and even Anthony Richardson because of his rushing, all names to watch. And as far as receivers, Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State, to me, is the standout receiver.
Agreed. I would even throw Michael Mayer in there for tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, because they're always
I think
looking for
Michael Mayer
tight
is going to
ends.
be a solid day one contributor.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to get to this is going to be more see, my dad's asking about he wants all kind of baseball predictions. This is we'll have all that for you Thursday on the Bayou Bets. We'll have all our MLB predictions, and we'll have our fantasy predictions here today on the Fantasy Roundup. So come back Thursday for the complete MLB prediction show. So speaking of baseball, good time to segue into that here. We'll start off here with our breakout candidates because it's always fun to talk breakouts, right? We've got some interesting names here. Gabe going with Kyle Tucker for the Astros. There's no bias, right?
No bias. I just think, Kyle Tucker is a solid, he was a solid average guy in his first few seasons. He got up to 294 in 2021. He struggled a little bit last year with average with 257, but he's a 30 home run guy. I think he'll really benefit from the new rules against the shift because he hits the ball hard. He hits the cover off the baseball. He puts it into good spots. He was just shifted against a lot last year. So now that there won't be as heavy a shift on him, I think he's really going to benefit, and you'll see that average skyrocket.
For sure. Yeah, I really like Kyle Tucker. I think he's a first-round pick. I know it's kind of a hot take, but he's got that all-around ability to where he should be locked in there because he's a guy that can hit bombs, drive in runs, steal bases. He's got the complete skill set needed to be a first-round talent. So he also got Teoscar Hernandez there. I see he's changing teams there, going to the Mariners in what's looking like a pretty juiced lineup. I'm guessing that's why you got him on here.
Yeah, I like Teoscar Hernandez a lot. He was kind of the forgotten outfielder in Toronto, but he hit the cover off the ball as well, and he hit for average. I think he's a good five-tool player. I think he will really thrive from a new environment in Seattle, and I think he'll help that team a lot, which is part of the reason I'm so high on the Mariners this year.
For sure. Yeah, he's gonna drive in plenty there. Batting behind Julio and those guys. I think he racks up over 100 ribs.
So do I. And I mean, you look at Teoscar Hernandez is not a name that a ton of people know. So you can get him in
Yeah, he's
not the later
reasonably
rounds, but the
priced.
middle
Yeah.
rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's a guy who could have a breakout season this year. A lot of talent there.
For sure. Yeah, I noticed you didn't include many pitchers, Gabe, so I make sure to throw in some arms here. The arm that I think is going to really break out this year, Brandon Woodruff. Got him rostered in one of my leagues, and I think he's going to really break out this year because he's got all the peripherals that do so. His ERA is sparkling, like well under 250, most years, and his whips are always under 110. He's around 1, like there. He doesn't walk many people, and also the high strikeout rates. What do we look for in pitchers? Low walk rates, high strikeout rates. Woodruff checks those boxes. So the only thing holding him back is his health, because his innings have been a little limited the past couple of years. But I think this is the year he puts it all together as he seeks out a new contract. I believe this is his contract year. Brewers don't seem willing to pay anybody. They have become it's weird. They've got talent. They act like they're contending, but they don't really. Their ownership has been very frugal, to say the least, not wanting to pay guys like Woodruff and Corbin Burns. So to me, Woodruff is poised for a huge year. He's in the prime of his career. And I think he puts up an ERA around 250 with over 250 strikeouts to go with it. And then my other breakout here is they call him Italian breakfast, man, Vinny Pasquantino for the Royals. I'm really high on this dude. The Royals don't get a lot of pub, but you're going to be hearing about him some this year because of their lineup. Bobby Witt Jr. is leading the way there, but everyone knows him in fantasy baseball. But Vinny Pasquantino, a guy not as many people know, who I think, even though the lineup's not that great, should hit 25 to 30 homers with 90 to 100 RBIs. So these guys don't sleep on these guys, man, because they're the kind of guys, they're not first-round talents. Well, Tucker is, but, these other ones, they're not first-round talents, but they're guys, if you can get them at the right price, they could end up returning spectacular results. And I see we got a comment here. I took Judge first overall, followed by Garrett Cole and Pete Alonso on the turnaround. That's not bad. I personally would have probably gone Trey Turner or Acuna first overall if you're in an ESPN league, then Ohtani because of the dual eligibility. But assuming this was a league where Ohtani wasn't dual eligible, I'd have gone Turner or Acuna. But Judge, we saw what he did last year. We know he's more than capable. And then Garrett Cole and Alonso, I personally like to kind of diversify my investments, so I may have gone with I don't know if there are other pitchers available, but I may go with like Corbin Burns or Aaron Nola, someone that's not I wouldn't want probably two Yankees like that. I'm honestly not that high on the Yankees this year, but Pete Alonso, I really like that. Can't really argue with that start too much. That's all heavy hitters.
Yeah, for sure. And another name to keep an eye on in terms of pitching, he might not go first round, but Zach Gallen of the
Yeah, Zach
Arizona
at the
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks. Yeah, he's nice. Yeah, 100%. Because yeah, he's a guy. He's again like kind of like Woodruff. We're talking about guys with the low walk rates, high strikeout rates. That's the recipe to success for a pitcher. And yeah, Zach Gallen, man, he's definitely like that. And it's a lot of times you can find these guys. I noticed that you got to look to the small market teams for value because, like, I mean, everyone knows the Yankee guys. Like, those guys aren't going to be sleepers. But if you can find, like, some Marlins or some Royals or Pirates or Reds, that could make an impact. Rockies, like these Diamondbacks, like we just brought up. That's a lot of times where the values are at because no one's really looking at these teams. But for fantasy, we're looking for stats. And yeah, these teams might be bad in reality, but for fantasy, if their guys are putting up numbers, we don't care if they're losing 4 games out of 5.
Yeah, Zach Gallen's a legitimate ace, and if you're looking to do what Spencer and I recommended over the last few weeks and not go pitcher too early, kind of hold off, Zach Gallen's one of those guys that you can get. There's great value in the fourth, fifth, sixth round.
Yes, indeed. So moving on here to the bust. Gonna get the bust out the way here before we get to our sleepers. I've been very consistent with these two. I've been poo-pooing on them now for weeks, and I'm gonna stay consistent, man. Fernando Tatis and Jacob deGrom. Don't fall for it, y'all. They get hurt every freaking year. I mean, I know Tatis is young, so you might give him a little more of an excuse because he hadn't played that long. But the thing is, though, he's gonna be suspended 20 games from the jump. I mean, he's suspended to start the season, so you're already not getting him for those 20 games. And he plays with reckless abandonment, and he's moving to the outfield. So he might be even more injury prone running around in the outfield, diving for balls and stuff to where I don't want any part of that. I don't want Tatis. He's way too risky to me. And then DeGrom has had battled injury after injury, and he's going to Texas. I don't like him going there. It's a worse team as far as he's not going to probably get as many wins and as much run support as he did with the Mets. And then also he's always out to where he's hardly pitched. I think the last few years he's hardly pitched more than 100 innings a season. So I'm staying away. But I see you got a couple of shortstops there, Gabe.
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz is a guy that everyone was high on last year. He can sling the ball across the diamond. He's a really fast player, gets on base a lot. I mean, he just strikes out way too much for my liking. He struck out 126 times last year and 331 at bats. That's just way too high a strikeout rate. And he doesn't get on base all that much either. So I'm absolutely fading O'Neal Cruz. Despite his hot start, only had a 233 average. And then Dansby Swanson, like you said, just like Jacob deGrom, he went to a worse team. I think Dansby will return to that 240, 250 batting average range, and there's not going to be potential for a ton of RBIs in Chicago. So that's why I'm down on Dansby as well. I think he's a great player, excellent in the field. I just don't think he's got what it takes to put the team on his back at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little higher on Dansby than some. I think he's a really good addition there for the Cubs. But yeah, if he doesn't have the support throughout the lineup that he had in Atlanta, he could kind of go through some ups and downs there. So I could see that. And yeah, O'Neal Cruz, I'm kind of intrigued by him. I feel like it's an all value thing. If I can get him later, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I'm not spending up on him. I feel like he's kind of like he's this year's Wander Franco. Like he's got a lot of
Yeah.
potential, but you don't want to reach on him because if you reach on him, it's like you're basically paying as if he's already done it. You don't want to pay premium for someone who's yet to prove themselves.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are going to be taking him not early, but relatively early because
Oh
he's
yeah,
a
I've
big
seen him
name.
go early. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
hot
exactly.
prospect. Yeah.
Everyone knows the name, so you're better to look elsewhere, in my opinion.
I got another question from BIM5 or BIMM5. I'm not sure how he says it, but we got to answer his one here about how we feel about Yoshida That's the Red Sox, the new outfielder they brought in. I forgot his last name there. He's intriguing though, Yoshida. He's got a lot of potential. And then MJ Melendez for the Royals, the catcher, he's weak catching position. And he's also outfield eligible. So I feel like out of these two, I'm higher on Melendez because he's somebody that could put up top 5 catcher numbers, and he's not a guy he's not going to have to catch much. He's the backup catcher to Salvador Perez, but he's going to get the DH and play outfield where he's going to probably get a full season's worth of at bats. So I'm pretty high on him. As far as Yoshida, I'm off the Red Sox this year. I really am. I think the Red Sox are going to stink. So I think Yoshida's got ability. If you can get him late, he's a good value, but he's kind of a trendy name right now. So I wouldn't reach on him because that Red Sox lineup outside of Rafael Devers is pretty bad.
I don't know. I'm a lot higher on the Red Sox than a lot of other people. We've seen Cora take a roster that everyone writes off at the beginning of the season and turn around and do stuff with. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win the AL East, but I think the Red Sox are going to be a decent team this year, and I think Masataka Yoshida is one of the reasons why. I like that lineup more
Masataka
than a lot of
Yoshida.
I like that lineup more than a lot of other people. As far as Melendez, like you mentioned, he's got that dual eligibility, which is definitely a help. And then it's not hard to be a top catcher in the MLB. Obviously, you're not going to catch
No,
Real Muto or Adley Rutschman, but if you can get high numbers from Melendez, that's great.
Yeah, because you can get him a lot later because you see it's Real Muto and Dalton Varsho, another one who's got that catcher outfield designation. Then Adley Rutschman, Salvador Perez, and after those four, there's really, Wilson Contreras maybe, but like outside of them, there's really not much else. Will Smith for the Dodgers. So if one or two of those guys gets injured, then Melendez could definitely sneak into that top 5. But let's get into our sleepers here. Some guys you could get pretty late in your draft that could make a big impact. I'm going to start off here with an Astro, Jeremy Pena, who he was a World Series MVP, right, Gabe?
He was. Yep.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. And he's somebody that, and it's not recency bias because of that. I genuinely think Jeremy Pena is going to have a big year this year. And a lot of that has to do with Jose Altuve's injury. Someone's going to have to step up and hit leadoff, and it's looking like that's going to be Pena. So where if he sticks, if he starts off hot, he could stick in that role. Even when Altuve comes back, they might move someone else down. Like if Bregman would start off slow or something, they might just drop him in the order and keep Pena up near the front. So I think he's poised for a huge year. He's got a lot of pop. He can run a little bit too. He's somebody that's trending up and is more than filled the shoes of Carlos Correa, I feel like. And then Jesus Luzardo is an arm with the Marlins that people are sleeping on. He's had some injury issues, but he's somebody that's, I feel like, due to step up. He's coming into his own, and he's in a great pitcher's park. Miami, that is a pitcher's park. As we saw at Sandy Alcantara, if you can throw a full workload of innings, the park will back you up. That's a park that's very pitcher friendly. And also, not only that, it's that Luzardo's nasty, man. Luzardo's got nasty stuff. He's got a low walk rate, high K rate, the thing that to me is most important when evaluating pitchers for fantasy baseball. So it's kind of like he's like kind of similar to Woodruff in this regard. He just got to stay healthy. He's got all the numbers needed. He's got a friendly park. He's just gotta have that arm last for the season, which I know is easier said than done. But to me, you can get him late enough to where it's worth the risk.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. And I think both of them are poised for breakout here. And Luzardo, if he can stay healthy, is a good pick.
Yeah, he's just got so much upside there. And I see you got Gabe Brandy Rosarina, who in a lot of drafts isn't really a sleeper because he's become a more known name. I know he's still not like a huge name, so I guess he still qualifies. But then JD Martinez, I see you put on here. He's getting up in age there, but going to a new team there at the Dodgers, thinking he's gonna bounce back there in LA.
Yeah, a lot of people are forgetting about JD Martinez. He only hit 16 home runs last year in 139 games. So for a power hitter like JD Martinez, a DH, that's not that good. There's nothing sexy about only 16 home runs. but his average was a little down. I think he'll really benefit from being in a better team under the bright lights of LA. So that's why I went with JD Martinez. I didn't necessarily think of sleepers as deep picks. I thought of these guys just as quality options that a lot of people are going to forget and sleep on.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier in Tampa Bay, with the next best thing in Wander Franco, people are forgetting about Randy Arozarena, who was incredible in the World Baseball Classic. I think he's really, really going to have a bounce back year. There's nothing sexy really about the Rays, but if there's one guy that I'm backing, it's Randy Arozarena. I think that's going to be a really solid squad that's going to contend in the East.
For sure. Yeah, Rosarina definitely has a lot of upside. He was in the Cardinals organization. I wish the Cardinals would have kept him because he's definitely come into his own there. And JD Martinez, as a Giants fan, kind of starts to worry me. He can't pitch around everybody. Freeman. Yeah, I mean, Freeman and Betts, we know what they're going to do. I'm just kind of worried that Martinez might be past his prime. I got the feel that the Dodgers were just – they weren't really all in this offseason. They basically just they didn't do like they normally do. They didn't go sign all these big free agents, but maybe they figured that JD Martinez still has enough juice to knock in a lot of runs. We'll see. I'll say this. I agree on Arozarena. Martinez, though, I'm fading JD Martinez. I think he's over the hill, but as we've seen it throughout MLB history, sometimes older players have resurgences. So, look at Nelson Cruz. People thought he was done. Then he had like through 5 straight years of 40-plus homers from ages like 35 to 40. So,
Dave Roberts knows how to get to the best of players in LA, too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they do develop talent pretty well. And Mason Wynn, the shortstop prospect for the Cardinals. Yeah, that dude's a great fielder. And if he can get his bat working, then he'll definitely worth a pick in Dynasty. Even in leagues with big rosters, like he's worth it, even in redraft. But yeah, Dynasty for sure. He should be selected there.
Got a fun fact for you, Spencer. I actually went to high school with Mason Wynn.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Nice.
Covered him when I was in high school. He's an awesome player. He was a great pitcher, too. It's a shame he's not still a two-way player. Dude was throwing high 90s in high school. Insane
that
player.
Explains
really talented.
Nice. Well, that explains then the cannon arm at shortstop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy when he makes a breakthrough to the majors, he's going to be a star.
Yeah, I can't wait because the Cardinals, the Cardinals were quiet in free agency, but now I see why. Looking at the farm system, you got Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, a lot of talent. So I can see why they weren't too worried about bringing in a bunch of free agents. And Stephen Kwan, 20th round, that's a bargain,
excellent
bro.
Pick.
That's a bargain. I mean, Stephen Kwan, somebody that have been avoiding because a lot of times he'll go in like the 9th or 10th round. I mean, a little too obvious. You can get him in the 20th. Oh yeah, I'll take him there any day. He's a great contact hitter who can steal some bases. I feel like people were going a little too crazy over him because he hit over 300 or close to it last year. But 20th round, man, yeah, you can't beat that.
Guardians are going to be good this year, I think.
Yeah, I think so. AL Central. I saw Zach did the AL Central. Oh yeah, for those that are in the MLB betting, make sure to go check out our divisional odds previews. We're breaking down each division. I did the NL East and NL Central. Gabe did the AL East and NL West. And then Zach did the AL Central today. And then Jim's doing the AL West, the last one. Yeah, he thought he had the AL Central, but had the AL West. So going to have all those up, I believe, by this afternoon. So y'all can go check that out at bet.NOLA.com, see which teams are values from a betting standpoint. And I think that's about to do it for our baseball segment here. We'll for those of y'all that like fantasy basketball, got a little teaser here. Not really a teaser, just some advice for those that are in the playoffs. Some sleepers to keep an eye on there on the waiver wire. I'll start off with Shaden Sharp for the Blazers. Damian Lillard likely shut down for the season. Somebody's got to score the basketball in Portland, and it looks like that's going to be Shaden Sharp. Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy, y'all, at the Pels, man. Pelicans really playing well lately. Murphy's been a big reason for that. Still rostered in less than 50% of leagues. Make sure to get Trey if you haven't already. And then Killian Hayes for the Pistons. Pistons extremely down bad, but again, somebody's got to score for these bad teams, and Killian Hayes seems to be the guy stepping up there for them. And then I don't even know how to say this dude's name for the Wizards. Just gonna call him Deny. I don't know how. I guess that's how you say it. He's a forward there that's been really racking up minutes with Kyle Kuzma and now Bradley Beal out. So where somebody's again these bad teams. This is the key. I feel like in fantasy basketball, you got to find these guys on these bad teams that are just they're getting all the minutes they can handle and they're just racking up. So definitely go get those guys if you're trying to make a late push in fantasy hoops. So yeah. But I'll put a bow on this one though. Still got my rant though. I'll let I know Gabe didn't have a rant this week, but I'll let you have any final thoughts before I do my rant.
Don't really have much. Just excited that we are 2 days away from baseball season. It's the best time of the year.
Yeah, it's almost here. It is almost here. Cannot wait.
Can't wait.
So yeah, my Cardinals, man, we get a tough assignment on opening day. Get the Blue Jays, man. That's gonna be tough. Alek Manoah, I mean, he can sling, he can pitch. Yeah, that's a really good pitcher. He was a Cy Young candidate last year.
Dude's a monster.
For real. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But let me rant here, and we're gonna go full circle here. My rant's about Lamar Jackson because it's just I'm so sick of this Lamar Jackson thing because it's like. I feel like a lot of this stuff wouldn't even be happening if he would just hire an agent. Lamar, hire an agent. You need to hire an agent. I'm so sick of this back and forth with him and the Ravens. And I think a lot of it has to do with that he just doesn't have the, like, I mean, no offense to Lamar. I know he's trying to, to be I'm trying to think of the word, a pioneer, I guess, and is trying to show that he can represent himself. But it's like, I hate to say it's too far gone, but I feel like it is. In today's day and age, these contracts are just too complex. I mean, Lamar, God bless him for trying, but it's like, dude, you're an NFL athlete. You're not an agent. Like, there's a reason why all the best athletes hire these agents, because these agents, as much time as Lamar's studying on film and all that stuff, that's what these agents are doing. They're putting in all their time studying these dollars and cents, trying to figure out how these contracts work. I mean, Lamar, he's trying to be a great QB, and he's a former MVP and all that. But it's like, dude, you gotta wise up here and hire an agent, because I feel like if not, then the Ravens or whoever team he ends up with is going to try to take advantage of him, because you got to have that agent. I feel like to kind of figure out all the loopholes and stuff, because it's like you have all these loopholes with deferred money, dead money, all that stuff, and that goes over my head. I mean, I'm not an agent or a GM, so I don't know exactly all the terms and stuff with all that, to where it's like, dude, I mean, you just got to hire an agent in order to get the proper contract. Because if you just go in there just fully guaranteed, no give or take. I mean, that's another thing. The agents are there to negotiate. You've got to negotiate. That's the key with anything. I mean, even with a job, like you're asking for a raise, you're going to have to do a little back and forth. But it's like with this, Lamar is just that not really willing to give much, it doesn't seem. And it just seems like he's been almost further burying himself without an agent. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. If he proves me wrong, I'll admit it. You can run this tape back, as Jim likes to say, and be like, oh, I was wrong. He got paid. He got it all. But to me, unless he hires an agent, it's not going to end well for him.
I just think a lot of this stuff is because there's no middleman. That's how I view an agent in this situation.
Exactly.
The reason I think he feels disrespected, as he should, is because there is negotiations going on, and obviously one side's not going to offer their best, and the other side's not. They're going to start lowballing, and I think if you start off with the lowball offer, that's where that disrespect comes in from Lamar, because an agent wouldn't tell him like, hey, they're trying to lowball you, but Lamar hears that offer, and obviously, I just don't think you can take anything that's said in those meetings with a grain of salt.
Yeah, because it's like, I think it's like, because these agents are used to all that. They don't take that personal. It's just business to them.
Exactly.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see if he can work this out. But it's definitely, and interesting saga. Aaron Rodgers, that saga is still ongoing as well. Still yet to have been traded to the Jets.
Don't even get me started on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's a whole nother mess. But yeah, we'll have baseball on Thursday. Can't wait. We'll have our thoughts on that on Bayou Bets, our baseball preview, and then we'll be back here again next Tuesday for the Fantasy Roundup. Until then, this has been Spencer the Guru Urquhart and Gabe Henderson. Appreciate y'all tuning in.